Hi, my name's Ernest from LiFePO4 Oz, and today I want to talk to you about connecting your cells in parallel and then connecting them into series. So we get a lot of people asking us if they can use one BMS and use, say, 8 cells in a 12 volt bank. So in other words, connecting 2 cells in parallel and then 4 of those 2 cell banks into series. So in other words, what's happening is you're basically doubling the capacity of your overall bank. The reason why I don't believe that you should do that is the job of the BMS is to monitor each one of the cells and to disconnect if any one of the safety parameters are triggered. In other words, if a cell has a high or low voltage disconnect, the BMS will disconnect the charge and it'll actually preserve the safety of the cells. Okay? Now, when you connect 2 cells in parallel, the BMS is not reading each one of those cells, it's actually reading the 2 cells collectively together. Now, the problem with that is when you get them out of the box or straight out of the factory, 2 cells will have varying capacity and internal resistance, okay? So having 2 cells in parallel, even though they are sitting at the same voltage, if you start drawing current out of that or start charging it, the one with the lower internal resistance will absorb charge quicker and discharge quicker than the one with the higher internal resistance. So, even though they are connected in parallel and they'll maintain the same voltage collectively, okay, one cell will be discharging quicker than the other cell. So in other words, if you're pulling, say, 100 amps from 2 cells in parallel, one cell might be drawing, say, 55 amps, the other cell might be drawing 45 amps, okay? And even after you stop charging or start drawing out the current from that, them equalizing themselves will actually take time, okay? It doesn't happen instantly. Okay, so I always recommend to people to run multiple BMSs. So if you want, to double your capacity, instead of running a 2P4S or a 2P8S or a 2P16S configuration, okay, run a 1P4S configuration with 1 BMS, okay? So in other words, basically have 1 BMS for every bank, okay? This way, each cell is going to be monitored. If there's one cell that is misbehaving, the BMS will disconnect and stop allowing charge to go into that cell or into that bank, and then you'll have your other bank as a backup anyway, so you'll still actually be able to get power, okay? Now, with Daily, they actually have a parallel module. Now, the job of the parallel module is to manage the flow of current between the cells. So when you're charging and discharging through the 2 different BMSs, and then they stop, the parallel module will regulate the current that's able to come from each BMS to ensure that you don't have too much of a surge of current going back and forwards. You might have, say, one bank that disconnects and you don't even know about it. The other bank will stay alive, so they'll fall out of balance. Okay, as soon as you bring that other bank back online, okay, there's going to be a surge of current from one bank to the other bank. Now, that could potentially damage the BMS. So Daily has a parallel module for that particular reason. Now, with the JK BMSs, they don't actually have a parallel module. When I've spoken to them about it, they've basically suggested just running a circuit breaker between each bank just to protect any surge in current. Obviously, if there's a surge and it's greater than the capacity of the BMS, the circuit breaker will trigger and it'll save the BMS basically. Okay, so that's about connecting cells in a parallel series configuration. If you've got any other questions about that, please reach out through our website, either through the chat or on our Contact Us page, or if you want to ask anything about any of our other products.